guys, so a couple of weeks ago I went on a photo walk with the dance group that I am in Vancouver, and we went to downtown Vancouver. There is a back alley with a whole bunch of graffiti walls, and if you guys want to know the location, I will share it in the description below. Basically, it's somewhere along the side of Gastown in Vancouver, and it has all the graffiti walls. As you can see in these photos, they are super cool. So that's the location that we went to, and we had a lot of fun taking all the photos. Let's quickly talk about the gear that I used on that day. I was using the XPro2, my favorite photo camera, and the 35mm f1.4. The old version, the new one is like 33mm, I think. So the 35mm f1.4 lens, the legendary kind of portrait photo lens that a lot of people like, and it is amazing. As you can see in these photo samples, even on the rail, you can see the out of focus going to focus area. It's really smooth, and some of the photos, the out of focus area around the edges, sorry for the eyepiece sensor, it's really kind of swirly, and this lens is not perfect, and that's why I love it. It's really nice. The focus and out of focus area is really smooth when it comes to the transition. That's why this lens is super nice. And you can do a lot of stuff with this lens. You can do a close-up shot, and you can do a further full body, and it will still give you enough subject isolation compared to the background. So amazing lens, amazing camera that we have used. And during the session, the weather was actually really nice. It was a sunny day, and because of the back alley situation, the light was not really directly shining against the subject except some of the area of the walls. So this one is a direct sunlight shining onto my friend's face, and it's totally fine because of the settings that we're going to share very quickly. You probably have seen the settings already. I think I'll show the settings before I show you guys this walkthrough, because some people, if you just want to copy the recipe or the settings, go ahead, no worries, but I'll explain to you why I picked all these options. So the gear, the weather, the location, they were all like really good. So let's jump into the settings. So first, of course, we have the film recipe for this photo session, and I picked this, or I have this set up because I do a lot of portrait photos, and I really like the colors coming out of the Fujifilm cameras, and I don't like photo editing. I don't like spending so much time trying to get the look that I like. This is as close as I can get out of the camera, straight out of the camera without photo editing. This is how I would edit the photo in my photo editing app anyway, so why not? Saves time, and it also allows us to share the photos with the look to your friends and family on the spot, so you don't have to ask them to wait till, let's say, like a couple of days later after you finish editing the photos, then you can share them. That's kind of take away the impact of the joy of doing these like photo sessions. So that's why I really love having a camera that can give me the straight out of camera look within the camera, not only for photos, same thing for videos. That's why the FX3 having the capability of loading a LUT and giving me the look in camera is really important, because your friends and family, they won't understand, like, oh, if you're looking at an image that is kind of washed out, or if the look is not what you're trying to get after editing, they cannot imagine the look. So you can probably imagine the look because you have certain styles already, but then they cannot imagine the look, so they will probably not get how you want the image to look like, and also like how the final product is going to look like until you finish editing. So that's why I came up with this recipe. So let's get into the menu of the camera. This is my menu, but I'm gonna go to the top menu, which is the image quality settings, and this should be similar to newer Fujifilm cameras, but not the older ones, because this is a XPro2, and it comes with the X-Trans 3 sensor, and this is 6 or 7 years old camera, and the menu is like this, but most of the settings are really similar. So if you don't have the options because your camera is a little bit older, then that's too bad. But you still have some of the options that I'm going to show you. But the newer cameras, they have more options, of course. So image size, the large one, I always like to have the biggest image so I can crop onto the image just in case in post. Image quality, fine plus raw. I always take raw photos just in case, even if I have the perfect JPEG settings, just in case. And also sometimes we might want to edit some of the photos if we want to in post, so taking raw is good. I do uncompressed raw. You can do lossless compressed. That's totally fine. I don't think you can see that big of a difference, but it doesn't really take up too much space anyway, so I do uncompressed raw. And film simulation, this is where I have it set to standard, which is Provia. The reason is because, as I said, Fujifilm cameras have really good colors already, so I don't really have to do much. With the standard Provia settings, I get the most balanced colors and look out of the camera. This is the film simulation I have in standard Provia. Grain effect, this is completely subjective. You can choose to have like stronger grain, but I choose it to have weak for portrait photos because sometimes people don't like having too much grain and you can't really remove it after, even on the JPEGs. You can add grain after, but you cannot remove them. So I keep it in weak. I want some grain, but not a lot. Dynamic range, I always set it to auto. I'll let the camera to do its stuff because you don't really know this the environment unless it's a controlled studio environment. If you're taking portrait photos outside, I usually leave it at auto. White balance, this is really important, especially if you are running on the X-Trans 3 sensor. I think that is the XT2 and the XT20. It's really confusing, like they use the X-Trans 3 sensor on the X something 2 cameras. But anyway, in white balance, I have it set to auto because I always have to switch up locations and backgrounds, so I don't really want to keep switching the custom white balance when I switch a background. So I keep it at auto. Fujifilm cameras, their auto white balance is really good. They have some of the best colors that I've ever seen on a camera. Some other cameras, let's say Sony, it's really hard for me to depend on their auto white balance, so I wouldn't do that. But on Fujifilm cameras, I'll always leave it at auto. If it's a professional photo session that you're doing, I highly recommend you to do a custom white balance so all the photos stay consistent, because you never know if a cloud fly by and you have like it set to auto, it might just keep changing your white balance because of the clouds and stuff like that, reflections and stuff. So if you are on a professional photo session, do a custom white balance. I have it set to R2B -5 for the white balance shift. I noticed that this way the skin tone is much more natural and healthy, I should say, not natural. It makes the skin tone look nicer because it's going toward that like orangey kind of zone. That way the skin of your subject will look nicer. You don't want to get into the green and blue zone when you are taking portrait photos unless it's a creative choice. So I always have it set to R2B -5 for portrait photos. By the way, you can save all the custom settings within the camera, but not white balance. For whatever reason, this generation of cameras, they don't allow you to do that. So that's a bad part. But I have it set to the name of the custom settings that I have. So I always remember to go to R2B -5. So that's white balance, super important to have. Nice skin tone. Highlight tone, I have it set to -2 because I want to protect the highlight and make it a little bit smoother. I don't want a super high contrast kind of photo, so I have the highlight tone set to -2, so it's not like super bright. That way it's a little bit more pastel kind of look. Shadow tone, I have it set to +1 because I want the contrast from the shadow side but not the highlight side, so that is +1. Color, I have it set to +3 because the straight out of camera JPEG, it's always kind of desaturated compared to what I like and what people like. At least within that situation in the back alley, you want a little bit more vibrant color, but this is, again, you can adjust anything you want in this recipe. But I have it set to +3. This is what I would do in photo editing apps anyway. I compare this JPEG straight out of camera to the look that I create in photo editing apps, and this is what I came up with. Sharpness, I set to +1. I know people don't like adding sharpness in camera because they think that it's too digital, but because of the lens that I was using, it was an older lens, and this sensor is not, like, it is super sharp, but then it's not as sharp compared to newer cameras. And I also think that because social media, most of my friends and family, they post the photos on social media anyway, and they will compress the photo most of the time. So I have it set to +1 just in case, so the photos don't look blurry afterwards. So +1 is my settings. Noise reduction, always set to the lowest, which is -4, because I don't want any artifacts, or I don't want like a waxy kind of face or skin on my subject. So -4. These one, I turn them off. I've never used them. That's for long exposure. I don't know what this one is, to be honest with you. Color space, I leave it at sRGB. So that is the settings of this recipe that gave me the most natural and nice portrait photos that I don't really need to edit in post. I can definitely give these photos straight to my friends and family, and they will be more than happy to keep them. I think they look really, really good. So if I zoom in, you can see that the skin tone is super, super nice. I think it's nice. It's probably nicer than the skin tone that you'll see on my hands right now, or my fingers right now, because I'm filming on a Sony ZV-1. I always have to tweak the colors. But this straight out of camera image quality, it's insane. It's super nice, super detailed. As I said before, this combo is my favorite. You can see how sharp the images are with this settings. And another cool thing about Fujifilm camera is you can actually edit the raw photos. If you have the raw photos selected in camera, you can actually edit it by pressing the Q button. This is a JPEG, so you can't do it, but by pressing the Q button, you can actually put in the recipe after. So you can definitely apply this recipe to your previous photos if you have the raw photos on your in your SD card still, but then you just have to do it like one by one, so that's an annoying part. But you can definitely test it out this way, so you don't have to go out and do the photo or take some new photos because of this. So you can see that all the skin tones are really, really nice. The fall off of the lens is super nice. There is a little bit of chromatic aberration, but that's the character of older lenses. You can see that there's like some fringing here and there, but that's fine. That's the character. I don't like removing every single flaw and keep everything so clinically clean. That's why I don't take photos with like super new lenses. I know the older lenses, they are slower and also not as sharp, but I don't need super sharp images, and most of the people are viewing the photos on their smart devices anyway, so why you don't need super crazy sharp images unless you're doing it for work. If you're taking photos for like fashion magazines, of course you want to have as sharp as possible images, but you can see like everything and it's super nice. This is from the recipe. So that's why I really, really love this recipe for portrait photos. Hopefully this recipe will help you guys out for your photo session, and so you can save some time and also share the joy of having the in-camera images straight out of the camera to show your clients, your family, your friends on location, so they don't have to wait for the editing process. But talking about editing process, if you guys want to see how I would edit it on the Mac computer using just the Photos app, it's a free built-in the Photos app that you have on your Mac computer to get a professional portrait photo kind of look, or a more creative, stronger look on the image, let me know in the comment section below, because I think I will do another tutorial. The previous two tutorials are great. A lot of people like that or like the videos. Thank you so much. But I will do a new one because I have some new settings within the Photos app on the Mac computer that I want to show you guys. And hopefully you guys will be interested in watching those. And if you do, let me know in the comment section below. If you have any of your settings or recipes that you like using for portrait sessions, let me know in the comment section below as well. I would love to learn from you guys as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.